So today we're going to be creating how to a CMA in FMLS. So you're going to log into FMLS. Just going to, sorry, don't know how to get rid of myself. Okay, so you're just going to log into FMLS. Put in your login credentials. Just start from scratch like you normally would. Mine, I was already logged in, so mine just quickly bypass that. You're going to go down to these tabs here. What you're going to use is this Cloud CMA over here. So click on the Cloud CMA. It's going to take you to the CMA, and what you're going to do is going to hit Create New Report. So we're going to have a CMA done. I'm going to be entering the client's information in here. If there's a husband and a wife, you definitely want to put them both in. For the sake of the purpose of this report, I'm just going to put in the person's first name and an initial. But I would recommend putting in the first name, last name, husband, wife, all of that. Just because it's going to actually address their names in the report. Private notes. In here, you're going to want to put things like their phone number and their email. I know it's probably feels redundant because it may be in your CRM, but at least this way, if you ever come back to it, it's just right here. It's easy for you to see. Anything else that's important to you, also put in the private notes here. But usually I just save that for phone number and for a email. So I'm going to enter in the address right here. It's going to start pre-populating it and looking for it. So you don't have to worry about like capitalizations, and there it is. So we're going to be Hickory. Oh my goodness, I can't read my writing. I do know it's in Canton. So I'm looking for something in Canton. 217 Hickory Nut. There it is. Okay, so I'm going to find that. Now, this information is not always correct. You may want to verify this with the seller. Sometimes they've added bathrooms, they've taken away. Usually they don't include any half baths here. If you want, you can always check the property against matrix. New construction, which I believe is this one when they purchased it. Actually, I think they have a history. So I'm going to bring up the old listing on here so that I have that information. So this is the old listing. It's going to have, let's see, it has no half baths. So the information of the 4 bedrooms, 4 baths is correct. It has no basement. So the likelihood of them adding a bedroom, adding a bathroom is slim. Not saying that they didn't, but they did not mention that they did that. So I'm going to have that. And right here, I see the community is Seasons Preserve. So I'm going to kind of leave that open in the background there. In terms of adding the cover photo, if they're close by all means, drive by, take a photo. Otherwise, you can save the image, Hickory, I'm going to call it, to my downloads, and then I'm just going to use the image of the old listing. And when I go there and, they look at their listing and they see it and, it's like the old photo and it's not that great, you just say, you know what, I just borrowed it from the MLS for the purpose of this. We're going to take professional photos. You're going to have a nice front picture for your actual listing. So just let them know that. So you just, upload it. Sometimes you can't find a photo. You can go to Google Maps and find a photo, but sometimes you just can't find one. So the best is to just upload something. If you can't, if you don't have anything to upload, just leave it blank. That's fine. It's not going to make or break your CMA. So these I usually just kind of leave. So it just helps in terms of when they're going to be picking comps. So you can put exact listing numbers. So remember I said to leave that other one open. I usually do quick and dirty. I usually go back 1 year, unless there's too much listings, like when it shifts to a buyer's market and you have more listings, then 6 months is plenty. You really don't want to go back a year if you don't need to. For now, I'm just going to say 1 year. The by MLS numbers could also be where if I go back to the MLS search and I go to Seasons Preserve, now I'm going to want to leave this window open here because I want to be able to go back and reference the property. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to open up another matrix window. Now know that this window, the other one with the listing, will be disabled. So if I move forward, back, or even try to look at the photos, it's going to tell me that the link is old. So, so I try not to do anything specific. So I'm going to go into the residential searches here. I'm going to enter the subdivision. Now, I don't always put the city name because sometimes they're on the border of two cities like Duluth and Johns Creek, for example. So sometimes they're interchangeable in the same neighborhood. So I'm going to leave that and I have to move myself. I got 0 matches. Okay, that's because it's active. So I'm going to select all here. And in seasons preserved, now I have something. So probably something that had sold, obviously, in the last 6 months here. I'm not going to need to narrow it down by cities because I don't have 50 here. So I'm just going to take a look at that. The reason I'm looking at this is because I want to make sure that this is included. I have shown up to evaluations where they're like, well, what about my neighbor? And for whatever reason, the quick and dirty just did not pick it up. So that's kind of your backup, is to run the search and see if there's anything else in the neighborhood you should be including. So what I can also do is go back to the criteria right here and be able to go back further than the 6 months if I need to. So what I usually do is I just hit back to go to October of 2023, hit forward to the 21st. Great. I'm going to go okay. It didn't change. So nothing's really moving in this neighborhood, or nothing's really happening over the last year. So I'm going to probably have a lot of outside of the neighborhood comps. So I'm just going to hit fetch listings on this one. Now it's going to go and find the listing for me. So it takes a couple minutes. In the meantime, here it is. They're going to show you. So this house right here on the map is the location of the house that you're doing the CMA for. Now I'm looking around, I see some other ones that are different pricing. Looks like here they didn't include one in the neighborhood, which is silly to me. So I'm going to include it. I can see why. So it's got a 3-car garage and this one has a basement, but I'm going to include it anyways. I know it's not really a great comp, but it's in their neighborhood and I wouldn't want the seller being like, well, what about my neighbor? I didn't include it and this and that. And then, some other agent includes it and then they feel better that that agent actually knows more about their neighborhood. They have another one that's under contract here in the neighborhood as well. See, things that weren't included in the matrix search. So sometimes it's kind of a hit and miss. That's why you got to do a 2-step process. So I'm going to include that one. This one definitely looks very similar to the type of home that is the evaluation is being done on. So you want to definitely include that. Now, do I want to include these? How do these homes look? Maybe not so similar. Looks like they may be older. So I may not include those. I've got some 600s over here. Probably not a good idea to include these across the street. They look like they're more new construction, so the pricing's going to be off. So I'm going to come back to these higher ones. This does not look like the type of home. Now you're like, Dee Dee, why are you just selecting? Okay, when you're starting, you're going to want to look at the information. Do you see the ones that aren't highlighted? The system decided that those are no good. And even though it came up, they just kind of left them off. You can always add them back by just checking on them. So in this one's case, you've got a few here. See, I've taken this one off, but I have this one still, but this is a very good comp. It's looks like a 1 level kind of ranch, what I'm dealing, like what I'm doing the market evaluation on. So similar square footage. I'm going to leave this one. This one's a good comp. I'm going to leave it here. When did it sell? Okay, it sold at the beginning of this year. I'm going to leave it, at least it was in this year. Then I have this other one, how does this compare? Once again, very, very similar looking property. It's in the neighborhood. It's closed at 490. So we're going to leave some of these here. This new construction, not a very similar property, more square footage. I'm going to get rid of it because it's going to skew my numbers. Here's another one, new construction. How's it look? It looks bigger than the listing, and the listing information is all here. So if you need to compare and you're like, well, Dee Dee, I'm not going to memorize that. You got 26, 28 square feet. Remember, there was no basement, 2013, 4 bedrooms, 4 baths. You see how that's blank? So you can actually write that in if you want to. If you do not type in the pricing here, it will automatically default to the highest one you've gotten the comps. So remember that you may want to put some pricing in. Now, if you're not that confident yet and you want the computer to price, just remember it's going to price your highest comp. So you want to definitely get rid of a 768 if you feel that the home is not going to be 768. Sometimes you haven't been in the home. Usually I do this to go to the initial meeting. I've done this quite a bit. I'm pretty good at gauging pricing based on what I'm seeing on the computer screen. But every once in a while, I walk into a house and they've upgraded everything. And, most of the time in that situation, they've told me that over the phone. They're very proud of their upgrades. They want you to know everything they've done. So you can work that into the pricing should it actually affect your pricing. But this one here, it's too big. It's a 2-story. It's not exactly what I need. Now I'm down to 3 sold comps. I don't want to eliminate too much. So, you have to keep an eye on that. This one is about the same square footage. It's got one less bedroom. It's new construction. So, that's going to be something where you're going to factor them by telling them the price is higher on this because it's a brand new construction home. But I'm going to leave it as a comp because I just don't have a lot. So here I'm looking at square footage, too much. This one looks a little bit better. But 2023 pricing on the high side, I really don't want the seller to think that they can get a new construction price. So I'm going to leave that one off. I'm going to leave most of these off. And no, I'm not looking to make it as low as possible. I'm just looking. Now, this one, if I have that as a comp, the seller's going to be like, that doesn't look anything like my house. Built in 1999. It's older. They're not going to be happy with that comp and the price. Once again, here we've got that new construction area. So I'm going to go down to this one. 535, 3-car garage, 3,700 square feet. Once again, not the best comp. So I'm going to go on to the under contract. You might want a couple here just to show them this is how much people are spending. But like I said, it's going to default your pricing. So don't use it if you are actually going to let the computer select the price. If you're going to manually enter the price, you can add these just so you can show people that, for 584, someone wants this type of home. They want 3,500 square feet. They want it newer, 5 bedrooms, 5 baths, so on and so forth. So I can show them. So in case the seller's like, well, I think my house is best and it's worth 580, you can say, well, right now the buyers are purchasing brand new construction, more square footage, more bedrooms, more bathrooms for 580. You're kind of bringing them down to reality in that case by including these types of comps, especially if you're not going to use the default pricing, then it won't make a difference because you're just going to manually enter the price. So you can have the comps there. Here we've got the neighborhood, okay? And it's a big price and it's in the neighborhood, but you remember this is 3-car garage. It's got more square footage. It has also a finished basement. You see that here, finished full basement. So you have extra bedroom in this house. It's a comp to show them if they price at 640, they're likely not going to sell because they don't have all those extra added values. We don't know what they are going to be closing at because they haven't closed yet. For all we know, they're pending at list price. They could be pending lower. They could be pending a sale at higher than their list price. So we don't quite know that. So we don't want to do too much with that other than to show it to them for informational purposes. Here is the house that pretty much is the identical to the house that we're going to be heading out to. So just a bit above the square footage, probably a bow window or something like that sticks out and gives them a little bit more square footage. But the layout is about the same. So I know that the seller in particular had told me that they had put in all solid flooring, just like this one. That was about the updates they did, and then they had painted the home. So this one is a great comp. However, it went under contract recently in October. So this is actually an excellent comp because it shows you in this market. They listed it on September 17th and they've gone under contract after 33 days on the market. So you're going to point that out to them because if they're like, well, I really wanted 500, 525, you can let them know that in this market currently, which at the time I'm making this video, it's a fall market. It's quieter, it's slower, it's not happening as fast. Know your market seasons because you're going to have people who are going to look at these numbers and say, well, someone's 640, and so I think I should get 640. You have to have a rationale on why to tell them why their home is not worth 640. And if they think that they can get over a certain price, you're going to have to tell them to be patient, that these people took 33 days on the market before they found a contract and they had a price reduction. Their original list price was 485. They reduced it by 10,000 and they got a buyer. So pricing is really important here. is what you want to point out to them. If they're not in a hurry, well, do they really need to be listed if they don't care if they sell, if they're not in a hurry to sell, all of that stuff. If the house is empty, so this listing in particular that I'll be going on, the house is empty, and it can actually, I would assume that these sellers would like to get it sold because they've moved on to something else and they don't want to pay 2 mortgages. This house does still have a mortgage. So you're going to want them to focus on the fact that they don't want to be on the market this long. We don't know if they actually even got 475. They might have had to negotiate further from sitting on the time on the market here. So you'll have those, and then you'll have your active competition. And this, you want to be reasonable. So this is a similar home, brand new, similar size, everything is similar, but it's brand new, and they're asking 768. So that's what the brand new homes are going for. They should not be asking anywhere near this price because that's a brand new home. Then you're going to look at this one. Is it really a comp? More square footage, 2-story. It's in the area. It could give them an idea that, hey, more square footage at 695, that don't price there. This one is probably a better comp. So I'm going to select this one over this one since they are similar in price. I'm not even going to bother with that comp. I'm going to say, you got a price below both of these. Right now, we currently have no homes on the market that, are similar to their age range. So right now they're competing against the new construction. Doesn't mean that they should be new construction prices just because there's nobody else. So their neighbor could come up for sale in 2 weeks and be $50,000 cheaper and sell instantly. So they gotta just, this is what's out there right now. Obviously nothing really in the price point. Now, when you do adjustments on the home, it's best to actually go to the adjustments of the homes that are sold because this is what somebody actually paid. So let's go to this home. This home is actually quite similar. I likely will not do any adjustments on this because this is pretty much virtually identical home to what I would be selling. So let's see, where is it on the map? So they're a better location because this one's backing the road, but this one also is in cul-de-sac and looks like it has a pie lot. This one's on the main street with the regular lot. So, those kind of things do make a difference, but some people just don't want to be backing on road. It'll just depend on how much their privacy is on the tree. What I'm going to point out to the seller is that this one was originally listed at 515. They reduced the price to 499 and then they sold at 490. So 119 days on the market. I am going to point all of this out to the seller so that the seller can see, well, if I go over 500, I may sit for a bit. So it might not be a good idea for me. And as I mentioned here on this one that's under contract, we don't know what the contract price is, but you can see they started at 485. They reduced the price quickly to 474 and they found. So this seems more of the right price range. Now, once again, if the home is more modern on the inside, so I'm going to show you the photos here. This particular one, it has, it's the 2012 build and it has those types of finishing. So a lot of people are not really into these colors anymore. They may want to paint, they may want to redo cabinets, countertops, things like that. So you have to factor that in compared to the new construction. So when I go up to this one here, this is one of those new constructions that have closed. So once again, the new construction is tough. How much are your adjustments going to be just based on the age of the home? Well, you got to factor in not just the age. Okay, this one was built in 2013. This one's 2023, 10-year difference. So for 10 years, I can reduce it by 10K. No, it doesn't work that way because that 10 years is also a world of a difference in the type of finishing the home has. So you can see they got quartz counters, they've got to the ceiling cabinets. It's not so basic anymore. It got a little fancier for that higher price point. So you're going to have to point out to them all of these finishings as well. Now, they listed it at 585 and they actually took 20,000 less after 88 days on the market. New construction is a little different too, because a lot of the times when they list it, it's not quite ready to go. And then as soon as it is ready, it finds a buyer, and that could have been on day 80. So when it comes to the adjustments, I'm going to be adjusting age in terms of the types of finishing that has changed. So we'll say age of home, just so that it's a personal reference for you. If you're going to remember age, you can just put in age. It's not a big deal. So the value of that age, that 10-year gap, what is the value? Well, there's a couple of factors, 10 years plus new construction. So If it was 10 years or let's say 9 years, but it wasn't new construction, someone lived in it for a year, there's some wear and tear. Now it's looking at different. New construction always gets a premium for their properties. So with this one, we're going to say, it's kind of thinking from an appraisal perspective. What's an appraiser going to think about this finishing versus the finishing? And, you can point things out like, hey, when I get professional photos done of your home, I'm not going to have my purse and my coffee mug sitting in the shot. We're going to make sure that the home is, perfectly positioned for the shot. This is also an iPhone photo. So another great idea to have that conversation with somebody, showing them that this iPhone photo is not the way you do business, that you have a professional photographer come in and we're going to make the most of the room with their camera angles, to make sure that all of the rooms, this is kind of how I explain it. When you take a phone shot, this is what you have in the shot, this much of the room. However, when the professional photographer does, his camera angle works differently and actually includes a wider angle. So he actually can make the room look as big as it should. I'm pretty sure this kitchen and this photo is bigger than it looks, but it looks small because it was an iPhone shot. So just a great time to kind of, tell them about what things you're going to do better than what they see here. So then, you're providing them with the value of what going to differentiate you as their agent versus the agent that just pulls out their cell phone, drops their purse on the counter and their coffee mug and takes a couple of shots. So when it comes to the adjustment of the age on this one, because I'm seeing the finishings are higher, another factor too is the HOA. So does the HOA in the current home that they have, do they have swim tennis? Are you competing against somebody that has swim tennis? We're going to have to factor that in. So these guys do not have a swim and tennis type HOA. So that means they're not going to have the amenities that one that's asking almost 600,000 has. So I'm just kind of flipping over here. I'm going to do a map view and I'm going to look. Does their neighborhood have amenities? Well, it looks like they might. So the listing agent didn't do anybody good service by not including swim and tennis, but right here I see swim, tennis. So it looks like we have an amenities neighborhood, which is good. So currently the home that's under contract is right here. You can see that. And then the home that I will be heading to an appointment will be right here. So it's far enough from the road, but it is backing the road. So that is something I'm going to be factoring into the pricing as well. And, letting them know that people who, they have a little bit more to pick from right now, especially in a fall market, they're a little bit more thoughtful about the things that they're going to select. So back to the adjustments, age of home, I'm going to do an adjustment of, for the sake of this one, for 10 years, I'm going to think of it this way. I'm going to think of it as about 5,000 per year. So we've got 10 years, we've got 50,000. So I'm going to minus, because I'm comparing this home to the other home, I'm comparing the comp to how it compares to the one that I'll be listing. So this comp is newer, it's got updated finishing. So I'm going to be taking this down in value to compare better to my listing. So save that. So that brings it down to an adjusted price of $515. Is there anything else I want to adjust in here? Possibly because I factored in finishing in with the new construction. The other thing I'm going to adjust is lot location. So with this one, it is priced at $565. Where is it located? So it might be off my map here. There we go. So not backing a road, things like that do make a difference. So we're going to want it to also the road location, we're going to call it. And the road will probably devalue the home about 20,000, 25,000, depending on how busy the road is. Let's just say 20. You're not an appraiser, so you don't have to be exact, but we know that from an appraiser standpoint, when he is looking at the comps, he is going to devalue the fact that the home is backing a road. And that's a conversation I tell them that too. I say, I'm trying to look at this from the appraiser's perspective. You can ask $1 million if you want. And if someone gives it to you, great. And then if they have an appraiser and the appraiser says, no, that's way overvalued, then that person's going to walk away. They're going to feel duped. So you want to be able to be pass an appraisal, quote unquote. So, if an appraisal happens, you want to be at least within the range to not make the appraiser's life difficult, trying to find where did you come up with this value? You're in line with the comps. And so it makes the appraiser's job easier as well. So we're going to have location there. Everything else otherwise is very similar. So let's see, let's go to the under contract. Same school districts, everything's the same. I'm not going to touch the under contracts in terms of the valuation. You can. So I can go to this one and say, okay, we've got a 3-car garage. So we're going to say basement first and foremost. And you know what? I'm going to say finished basement because there will be ones sometimes in your other ones will be unfinished basements. So they're not going to be as worth as much. Now, a basement in this type of property that's fully finished, not gonna, they added a bedroom into the basement. So I'm gonna say that at least they're going to have the valuation for a finished basement of possibly 50,000. You're like, Edie, you're making up these numbers. Yes, I am. Absolutely. And you're going to get better at this with what numbers are reasonable. Every area is different. Basements in some areas are some types of home. If you got $1 million home, the basement might be worth 100,000. If you have a 1,000 square foot home, the basement could be worth 20,000 because it's not that big. So it's really an adjustment based on kind of what you're seeing with the comps. It's math. So we're going to save that as the finished basement, garage, 3-car garage. I'm going to note for that. And then I'm going to adjust on that. And a 3rd-car garage, it's not worth a huge amount, but it's worth enough. So I'm going to probably put it at 10,000. How's the interior of this home? That's why you've got photos, so you can take a look. Well, looks like it's a pretty decent interior. They've got nice neutral finishing. Once again, 2013, or this one is, 2013. So you can see that it's probably very similar to the one I'm going to be listing, other than the fact that this one is a little bit bigger. So, what did I bring it down to? 579. Now, I wouldn't recommend for them to still sell it for 579. Doesn't mean I have to further devalue the home, but once again, it's definitely still on the high side. Now, if you can see that my averages kind of seem a little bit high, I'm still not going to even recommend 585. That's still too high. If I just ticked that off, boom, all my adjustments change. But I'm going to put it back because it doesn't matter. I'm going to type in the price point. Another great way to decide, which way to price, don't go to Zillow. They're calling you as an agent. So they're hoping that you might have a little bit more than what Zillow, insight, because Zillow is just an algorithm. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go to Remind now. I'm going to open up my Remind Pro and I'm going to search the tax record now, and I'm going to see what ranges are the lenders giving this person. So when you go to the search here, you're going to just type in the address. There it is. So you saw their names are in there, and there's 2 names. So I'm going to be going back and adding Timothy, looked like, to it. So sorry, Scott and Kimberly, that's who's there. So I'm going to go down to here. And if you go all the way down to here, you're going to have the valuation. So on average, there's your range, 455 to 624. On average, it's looking at about 540. So Redfin is giving them messages saying that it's, the house is worth 535. Zillow sending them messages saying it's worth 527. These are some, Remind is saying 550, First American 550 as well. So the range is what's important here. 625 is too high. I would not even put that on the range. When you're giving them a range, you don't really want to do more than 30, 40,000 in your range. So essentially they're saying the house is worth 550, but one just sold for 470, well, under contract for 475. So we do have to pay attention to the fact you got to tell them what's on Zillow and Redfin. It's just an algorithm number based on the number from what they paid for when they bought it. If they've only been there a couple of years, then it's starting from a high section. A couple of years ago, we were at the peak of our market. All the pricing has been high. Since then, it's cooled off, and you're going to have to be able to explain that to them and let them know what is currently going on in the market. If the market was increasing, then I would always suggest to go higher than the last comp. But the market currently at this time in the fall is in kind of quiet. It's quiet, it's softer. We have, interest rates are higher. So those are all factors of why the buyers are not going to pay them $550 as what Zillow says. So you're going to want the range to include the low. I know you're going to be like, oh, I don't want to scare the people. But the reason you're going to include the low, so I'm going to manually enter it. And you want to do all those adjustments. I'm doing this for the sake of the purposes of this video. I haven't adjusted everything, but I should go in. I'm going to go in afterwards and I'm going to adjust that price. I'm going to adjust everything because I want it to be more accurate. And I'm definitely going to focus my adjustments on the closed ones, not so much the under contract ones. Yes, I know I did one, but my focus, I've only got 3 that I'm using for closed. So it doesn't matter to under contract ones. I definitely don't make any adjustments on the actives. They're not under contract. We don't know what the final sale price will be at all. There's not even any interest. They don't have a contract. So you're going to type in manually the entire number, exactly how you want to look with the dollar signs. To me, right now, the system is showing that what Zestimate is giving her is way off compared to what they're actually selling for. So I am going to go to about 525. So I'm giving her a $50,000 range. And what I'm going to be telling her here, she's got lots of time, 525, but be prepared to be on the market 30 to 60, probably 60 plus days. And patient, possibly even a price adjustment of 510, bringing it down a little bit until you find a buyer. If you go 500, that's kind of the sweet spot. You're in the middle of between 575 to 525. You may get a contract within about 30 days in the appropriate timeline of what it takes to sell. You're going to appeal to the right amount of buyers of what they're looking for in that 500 price range. In 525, you're not going to appeal to as many buyers. A lot of buyers are going to have options that are bigger, newer, all sorts of other different options. So they may not even consider looking at your house if you're listed at 525. 475, well, that seems to be the sweet spot to get an offer. So if the goal is to get an offer sooner than later, get the home sold, then that's kind of be the one that I would suggest. And this is one thing I've been saying in my latest listings. This is going to get old, this video, but right now, even though the market's quieter and it's kind of shifting to a buyer's market, it's true that you cannot overprice your home. You cannot underprice your home. So if you overprice, nobody will come. So if you overprice it and you're overpriced, it'll just sit on the market, go stale. You'll probably have to do some price reductions and adjustments. Now, if you underprice your home, it'll get bid up, because people will see that it's a good value. You'll likely get multiple bids, either pay your list price or slightly above your list price. Will they give you 525? Well, that I don't know, because you're underpricing. Are we going to get 5 offers? Or are we going to get 2? So we're not quite sure where exactly you're going to land on that in terms of your sale price, but you won't likely get less than 475, because that seems to be the bottom, and somebody's going to see the value in that and give you more than that, or the list price at least. So the best is always to kind of be in between and be maybe at that 500 price point, unless they need it sold fast. Then I'm going to tell them they have to go 475. So after you're done that, you can customize the report. Now you can always go back in and edit it, which is what I'll be doing with this. So that's why it doesn't matter to hit the custom. You're going to have pages here. You can pay extra to have all these premium packages if you like. Sometimes that might strengthen your market evaluation. I'm pretty good at presentations with the standard ones, so I'm going to leave it at that. Is there ones that I want to include? I want to include my recent sales. If you've never had any sales, do not include this. You're going to be sitting there explaining that you're a new agent and you're not going to get the listing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit it not to be the closest to the subject property. Unless I had a whole ton close to that subject property, then that's all I'm going to pick. So I'm going to pick recently updated. It only shows up to 12. So if you have more than 12, that's why you want to click closest to subject property, so that they can see that. Now, when I look at what it looks like, you have the eye icon here. You can look at every single page and then decide which page would be appropriate for this one. So they can see here, there's the house, there's a sale that I did right up the street from them. There's one not too far, like I work in their area and I can use that to my advantage to let them know. So the one that I had sold that was close to them here, it was in a 667,000 price point. So they can see that, I do that price point and those higher ranges if that's what they're looking for. But you can see in here, I've got some 4s and 500,000s and 330 even. So they can see that I can still sell homes that are not high end either. If you got a resume to put in here, by all means do it. Here's an example of it. It's going to just basically, it's a generic one from the system. If you have career awards, you want to add them here. You can put all of that in there. So I'm not going to use that. Do I want to show them more photos and my adjustments? Not really. I find it more confusing. If you find it better and more helpful, you can add that and you can put it in there. Online evaluation analysis. I want to include this because they're probably looking at their estimate at 550 and they're going to have questions for me saying, well, Didi's estimate, Zillow says 550. So features that sell, yes, I'd like that. Notes, am I going to be taking a lot of notes? Maybe, maybe not. Hard to say. Am I printing it? Am I coming up with just my computer? I'm gauging my client at that point. So I print some of them. I print most of them, and most people are impressed with the printing that they say I take the time. Now, most listing appointments I've gone on, I've seen on the counter other people's printed stuff. I highly recommend printing something. Now, if you're talking to somebody who's very sensitive about climate and green topics, you don't want to bring 60 pages of printing. They're going to look at you sideways. So I know that sometimes you're just not going to know, and that's fine. Bring something if you don't know them. But if you know that they are highly sensitive to the environment, don't print this up, okay? You can do this on a computer presentation and you can email it to them afterwards so they still have it. So I'm not going to include notes in this one. I don't plan on writing down a lot. Selling your home in a tough market, I'm going to include that just because it's fall, negotiating with buyers. Short sale, we're not dealing with short sale here, so that's fine. Online valuation tools, this is where I want to talk to them. CMA versus an appraisal. So what's the difference between an appraisal and what you're here doing? Testimonials, if you have them, add them. If you don't. Mine was linked. For some reason, all my testimonials just do not want to link anymore and the report comes up empty. So I just leave it now. Listing syndication. So that's explaining to them that you're going to be on FMLS and you're going to be also shown on realtor.com, Zillow, Remax, Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker. All of those sites are going to have you. So that's listing syndication. You want to include that and explain that to them. Instant offers and iBuyers, you want to include that too, because some people are like, well, I just want a cash offer, but they're going to be leaving money on the table. And this is kind of how this explains that to them. Lets them know that cash buyers usually will have transaction fees that they don't know about when they first, start speaking with them. A lot of the times the fees are higher than a realtor's commission. If you're going to pay a realtor, if you're going to pay a fee or a compensation, you might as well use a realtor. Why give the cash buyer a huge discount to purchase your home to get rid of it fast, plus pay a fee of them to do what? Process paperwork? Not even try to sell it on the market, not even use any expenses to sell. So that's why I always say, I include this because it just kind of explains, if you need to explain to people, you don't want to go every single page at your appointment anyways. So I've got everything that I want in there. I used to have all of that, but for whatever reason, it's disconnected for me now. So I'm just going to ignore it and I'm not going to put it in there. Custom pages, I made this manually. So I haven't been using the net sheet lately, so I'm just going to leave that off as well. Okay. So right now, I think I actually added it, but that's okay. I'm going to be going back. So you can see there's a lot of pages here. Listing paperwork, you're going to have all sorts of things. And they're going to put it in an order that makes sense. So you don't have to, but you can move it around if you want, no problem, right? So after that, you're going to hit publish report. So the report gets published and you've got several options. There's your open door option. Open door will give them this range and you can let them know that likelihood of open door giving them 526 is slim to none, especially with that comp in the neighborhood of 475. They're probably going to go to the 475, 465, and plus they're going to have 5 to 7% fee to that they're going to charge them for purchasing their home. Gauge the person. When you're on the phone call and they're saying, I want a cash offer, I want a cash offer, say, okay, no problem. So you can show them this. My suggestion of listing to them will probably be around the 500 or less price point, especially because it's fall. If they want more money, they should wait until spring. I don't think that's going to be the case here, but some people are not in a rush. And so if you can, if they're like, I just want the most money, but I'm in no hurry to sell, why are you listing it? Because they're not going to cooperate to sell it. You're going to bring them offers and say, no, I don't want that offer. I don't want that offer, because they're not in a hurry. There's no sense of urgency. You might as well push them off to the spring market, because more than likely you will sell their overpriced listing in a spring market more than you will in a fall market. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're discussing the options with them. Now, I always tell people, when's the right time to sell? When you're ready. Spring, yeah, it brings you the most buyers. It probably brings you the most money. But if you're purchasing in that same, if you're buying in that same market, you're going to be spending more money on whatever you get. So if you need to sell now and just price it right according to now. The carrying costs to wait until spring will probably be the equivalent of what you're going to get extra in the spring. If you need to sell now, carrying costs, if you live there and you're not in a hurry to sell, is no big deal. Those are just your monthly expenses. So you can email them the report. Here you've got a live link and you've got a PDF. So what I usually do is I open up the PDF, I download this, and this is what I print up. So it's a long sheet of a whole bunch of things. What I also do when I go to the appointment, I hit view live, and I'm there now live with them. And I think I just hit view PDF again. Sorry. So view live. Now it's going to create something that is going to be a presentation for you. You can talk about yourself, you can talk about the CMA, you can talk about comps, pricing, everything. It's all right here. Time to sell, 78 days on the market. So when you're pricing the home, you can tell them homes are sitting on the market for a while. So if you want to do the average pricing, be prepared to be on this time to sell. If you go below the average pricing, you should sell within 30 days. Intelligent pricing, marketing action, suggested list price. See, it's blurred, so they can't see what I'm saying until I actually click on it. And there's that range that I put in. If I put in 475, it would just say 475. So when you compare it to the comps, it's right there in the middle. So that's kind of what I show them. This is showing average pricing is $597 and it's below, but you got to remind them that they're competing against new construction. So this average pricing is taking the high prices of the new construction plus the lower pricing of the resale, and that's the average it's coming up with. So what you can do, excuse me, print this up, bind it nicely, put it in some kind of nice folder presentation. And when you go to the actual appointment, this is what you're going to use. You're going to show them that. And then afterwards, you can say, I'm going to email you the report. And you're going to hit email report and you're going to put their emails in here. You don't have to do it at the appointment. You can do it afterwards and you can send it to them. I don't like emailing it beforehand, because if they don't like the numbers I'm putting in there and they don't have an explanation, then they're going to cancel our appointment. And they're going to say, something came up, and next thing you know, 2 weeks later, it's listed at the exact same price that you were going to suggest, but you just didn't get a chance to explain that to them and they went with somebody else. So unless they're out of town, I wouldn't email until after the appointment. Then you email it. Usually I just email them the live and the slideshow. I've already left them a copy of the PDF report on their coffee table. Unless they're conscientious of the environment, then I'm going to also send them all three. Okay. So great thing about emailing the report from here. Well, there's your preview of what it looks like. That's what the email is going to be. Is that you can actually see how many times they've looked at it. So when I go to the CMA here, my screen, and I go to these sellers that I've sent reports, this one right here, he's looked at it 7 times. These ones, just twice. This one, 9 times. This one will be listing right away here. They've taken a few months to get ready, but they're going back and they're looking at that report constantly. So you're seeing, when they're looking, you're seeing when it increases, you're seeing how much engagement they're having with everything. So if you have, these are the greatest ways to be able to, present, always present in person if you can, always offer valuable information if you can. This way, the more information you give the seller, the more likely they are to choose you to be their agent. Thanks for watching how to make CMA, comparative market analysis, and I wish you the best of luck. I hope you cut all this out. I'm having a hard time, like usual. Just cut all this other stuff out, please, at the end. Yeah, you're gonna have to cut all this out because I truly have no idea on how to stop my recording. The red button. Okay, stop share. That's done. So now I'm going to stop recording.